What's up? I'm Diana, creator of Money Boss Mama, and as you can see from the setup, I am trying something new. I have like this podcast type vibe setup going on, and that's because I want to bring specific topics to this channel and really build a deep discussion around them, kind of like a podcast does. And so definitely at the end of the video, let me know, how are we liking this podcast vibe, as well as what topics you guys want to see discussed on this channel. But in light of my first debt-free anniversary, I am popping this thing off with talking about some lessons and realizations that I've come to after achieving debt freedom. And y'all, let me just say that some of the lessons and experiences are not really talked about. And so I want to bring them to this channel and offer a different perspective so you guys can kind of see the other side of debt freedom. And I find that when you're paying off debt, whenever you're finally done, you're kind of just thrust into this weird transitional phase. And it's very unfamiliar because number one, paying off all of your debt is still very rare. We live in this consumerism type of society, and so it's rare and unfamiliar in that sense, but also because you've been focusing on this for so long, and now it's over. And it's like when you go years focusing like so heavily on this specific outcome and you finally get it, it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now? Like, what do I have to focus on now? Like, where do I go from here? And sometimes you're exhausted at the end of it. And I don't think that's really said often. You're exhausted. And I remember when I was in like the third grade, we had this race out on the track, and whoever was the last student, that was going to be the winner. So whoever lasted the longest running these laps around the track, they were going to be the winner. And I remember I wanted to win. I wanted to win so bad, and I was visualizing myself winning and everyone congratulating me. And so once I locked in on that vision, I did not care what I had to do to win. I did not care if I had to stick out my foot. I was going to win. And coming from someone, like if you're a visionary like me, you know that when you have your heart set on a vision, you will damn near kill yourself in the process to get to that outcome. And so I remember telling myself I'm going to win, doing whatever it takes. So I'm running around the track, and I'm crying. About the third lap around, I am crying, probably snot coming down my nose. I'm just boo-hooing and running all at the same time because I really wanted to win. And when I finally realized that I had won, I passed out. I passed out because I used up every ounce of strength and motivation I had to be the last person running around this track. And I remember I passed out in this little patch of grass by the track. And when I finally came to, everyone was around me congratulating me. But I was so exhausted that I could not even enjoy winning. I could not even enjoy and be present in the moment. And I feel like a debt-free journey is very, very similar. You are using a lot of discipline and motivation to get through this journey. And I remember that during my 4 years, like I went through all the pain and the struggling, and there was a lot of pain and struggling, y'all. I used up every ounce of discipline and strength that I had. And so when it came to me actually paying off all my debt, I remember that it didn't really feel the way that I thought it was going to feel. And I thought that something was wrong with me. Sometimes when you come out of something that you've put your all in and you were just so laser focused on the future, you're so emotionally and mentally drained when you finally get to that point, so much so that you can't really enjoy that moment in the present when you actually get to that point. And I remember being on podcasts, I had podcast interviews, and they would always ask the question, when you first became debt free, how did you feel? And I had to be honest. Now, I don't know if my answer was the answer they were looking for, because I know that they want the interviews to be, entertaining, but I was intentional about being transparent because I knew people were going to listen to this episode, and I just felt like they deserved to see another side, to get a different perspective, because I know that the norm is like, oh my gosh, I was just crying and it was just so great, and it is, but sometimes your experience may be different from that, and I didn't want anyone to feel like I did, where they were feeling like, something was wrong with them. And y'all, it got to a point where I forced out tears. I forced myself to cry because I'm like, girl, you're about to feel something. You're about to feel something. We went through hell these past 4 years to get to this place, and we finally get to this place, and you're going to try to tell me that you don't feel anything, that you feel numb. And I felt a sense of shame because it's like, people are trying to achieve what you've achieved, and you've achieved it, and you mean to tell me that you don't feel anything? So obviously that was a huge blow to me because I was focused on this specific outcome for so long, and I had kind of put all of my hopes into this specific outcome, and for that outcome to not feel the way that I thought it would feel, it was a very hard moment to accept. And I also came to the realization that many financial goals were going to be the same way, because you're focused on the future. And if you are a goal-oriented person like myself, a lot of the times when you go from goal to goal and they are very ambitious, you are focused so heavily on the future from day to day, and that makes it extremely hard to be present. And so when that moment finally comes, like, you're so focused on what comes next. And that was me. I'm like, okay, I achieved debt freedom. Now what comes next? Because I had trained myself to be so laser focused on future Diana, and I wasn't nurturing present Diana. And I also came to the realization that, putting so much focus on an outcome, and especially to a point where you're relying on it for your happiness, that is extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous because things change all of the time. And if you are not finding any type of joy and balance in the present moment, then whenever that outcome doesn't work out the way that maybe you wanted it to or you expected it to, it leaves you in a very vulnerable state. And that was another huge slap to the face to me, because I had done that. I thought that, okay, once I get to this certain point, everything's going to work out. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be able to afford XYZ. I'm finally going to live the life that, I want to live, and everything is going to be okay. I just have to get to debt freedom first. Instead of really focusing on what I had power and authority over right now in my current state, to start creating that balance and that happiness that I was relying on debt freedom for. Which is why many of you may have noticed the shift in my content. I have shifted from a perspective of, cut and reduce because that represented who I was at that time, to now pushing out content that's about, finding balance and slowing down. And that is because I've been in the journey, but now I also have that perspective of being out of the journey. And I have the ability to look back over my financial journey, hindsight is 2020, and really pick up on things that I did not see while I was in the thick of it. And finding balance on your debt-free journey is very much possible, but it requires you to go at your own pace and not someone else's. And that is extremely difficult to do. And many of us are not going to do it. And I say it's very difficult to do and we're not going to do it because, we have these people who are debt free that tend to sell their lifestyle in a way, especially those who teach debt freedom, or we have people who just live their best life and they put it online and we're naturally comparing ourselves to them. And I'm not saying anything is right or wrong or good or bad. I'm just simply observing, and based on observations, still it's being done either way it goes. And so when you are seeing things like that, you're seeing people live in luxury and taking vacations. You're seeing them increasing their investments. They're showing you their growing bank accounts, and they are maybe saying things like, this is what debt freedom has allowed me to do, and if you just stick with it, be disciplined and pay off your debt, you can do this as well. If you are seeing that and someone else comes in and they tell you, girl, slow down, create balance. Happiness is not out in the future. Happiness is with you right now, but you want to allow yourself to create it, and you want to allow yourself to go at your own pace. So you're extremely overwhelmed and trying to do 10 million things. You're probably going to continue going at a faster pace because that lifestyle that they're selling looks a hell of a lot better than your current reality, right? And I found that this was something that I fell victim to as well. I fell victim to me thinking that debt freedom was going to be an end all be all. It was going to cure everything. And what a lesson it was to learn that it wasn't. And speaking of lifestyle, I have also come to the realization that just because you pay off debt doesn't mean that you are going to automatically be swimming in money. And this one hurt, okay? This one hurt a lot because I assumed now that I was no longer paying money to lenders, I was going to be able to keep a lot more of my money and do more things. But it did not work out that way. And it didn't work out that way because when you are paying off debt, depending on how long it takes you to pay off debt and how much money you have to work with, there are sure to be some areas that have to be put on hold, such as saving and investing. And if most of your money is going to debt, depending on how long it takes you to pay that debt off, 5, 10 plus years, those areas that are on hold, there's going to be some lack around those areas. And that is what happened with me because I was focusing on paying off debt and putting most of my money there. Saving and investing took a back seat. I was saving a little bit here and there, investing a little bit here and there, but I couldn't go as hard as I wanted to because I was focused on paying off debt. And so when I became debt free, I literally had to roll over the money that I was using to pay off debt to now save and invest because I had to get the ball rolling when it came to those areas, because I had 4 years where I was not really tending to those areas. And so my personal funds only increased by about $20. I got an extra $20 to do whatever with. And that was something I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, I feel like I've been bamboozled. This is not what these people said were going to happen when I paid off debt. But y'all, let me tell you, income plays a huge role, and that is often not said with these things. Income plays a huge role. If your income is not increasing significantly every single year, then when you become debt free, the change may not be very significant. It may be more subtle, and that is okay. That is okay. My change in finances were a little more subtle than maybe others because my income has not increased significantly. And so my payments that I was using for debt, I literally just rolled it over into saving and investing. Yes, you technically are keeping more of your money because, your savings and your investing, that's for your own greater good. It's not going to anyone else. But as far as you thinking you're about to go to Bora Bora and live it up, it may not happen. And I don't want anyone to feel bad about it, whenever their life does not look like someone else's that became debt free and thinking they did something wrong, when in reality, you're just handling your responsibilities. You are doing what you are needing to do. And, we just keep it pushing and we just keep it rolling. And not everyone is a super high earner. I also feel like when you are paying off debt, you are fighting for your freedom in a way. It's like you are fighting for your freedom from lenders so that you can keep more of your money and live life the way that you want to live it. Spend your money the way that you want to spend it. And when you go so many years fighting, and that fight is finally over, you're kind of left to sit still in silence and figure out, okay, now how do I want to live? How do I even want to live? And that was a very scary and sobering moment for me. I was like, okay, boxing gloves are off. I'm done fighting these lenders. I fought like hell for 4 years. I finally won the fight. Now what is it that I want to do? How do I even want to spend my money? And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned about a debt-free journey is that the journey is not about improving your finances. The journey is about you improving yourself, because who you go in as, you're not leaving out as. It's you that's transforming, and your finances improving. That's just a product of that. Who I went in as, I don't even recognize her. Like your values change. Your self-worth changes. Your confidence increases. Your community may change. Some people have to go. But you also meet new people who are now, matching who you are, who you're growing to be. You are elevating to a higher version of yourself. And that woman is working to build a life in a way that aligns with her core values. And what you initially thought that you wanted when you started the journey, when it's over, you're forced to reevaluate what it is you want, because you're a completely different person. I'm a new person. My interest has changed. My whole perspective on life has changed. My whole perspective on other people and things have changed. And what it was that I wanted whenever I started debt freedom is now completely different. And that is the scariest thing ever. It's the scariest thing ever, but it's also the most thrilling, invigorating thing ever as well. It's like now you're more in control of your life. because you don't have lenders calling the shots. It's you now controlling your money. And you have that power and authority back that you were fighting for. And it's something that you can't really prepare yourself for until that moment comes. And I don't want any of you to be afraid of that. I want you to embrace it, fully embrace it, surrender to that fear and that discomfort of you knowing that you're a different woman with a new lens on life, and aligning your financial situation with that. And I see that being displayed out on my channel. Like, I don't want a duplex anymore. I don't want a house hack because that's what I wanted in regards to who I was previously. But I came out of it a different woman, and I'm just now working to get my life back, to call the shots again. And this is exactly what the journey is all about. And I'll be completely honest, I'm still exhausted. I'm still exhausted, and I feel like a year later, I'm still exhausted because I am now having to rearrange things in my mind, in my head, because now I get to call the shots for real this time. And it's scary to accept and let go of who you were and accept who you have become. But I find that it perfectly describes life after debt freedom for me. I just had a completely different experience. But it is, once again, an extremely thrilling experience, extremely worthwhile. And the lessons that you learn, the wisdom that you gain, I would totally do it all over again. But I can talk you guys half to death about the realizations that I've made after debt freedom. I won't do that. But definitely leave me down below. If you have achieved debt freedom, what lessons and realizations did you come to? And if you're on the journey, what lessons are you learning right now? And I will catch you guys in the next one.